Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you for today's Srimad Bhagavatam session. Let us begin with prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 8, entitled Prayers by Queen Kunti and Parikshit Saved. So we are starting a new chapter today, Prayers by Queen Kunti and Parikshit Saved. Text 1. अथ ते सम्परेतानां स्वानामुदकमिच्छताम् दातुं सकृष्णा गङ्गायां पुरस्कृत्य ययुः स्त्रियः Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Suta Goswami said, thereafter the Pandavas, desiring to deliver water to the dead relatives who had desired it, went to the Ganges with Draupadi. The ladies walked in front. Purport. To date, it is the custom in Hindu society to go to the Ganges or any other sacred river to take bath when death occurs in the family. Each of the family members pour out a pot full of the Ganges water for the departed soul and walks in a procession with the ladies in the front. The Pandavas also followed the rules more than 5,000 years ago. Lord Krishna, being a cousin of the Pandavas, was also amongst the family members. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. So, in this chapter, uh, the main point is the prayers offered by Queen Kunti. Throughout Bhagavatam, there are many prayers offered by exalted devotees to the Lord, and this prayer, set of prayers offered by Kunti Devi, also known as Kunti Stuti, is actually very special because there are many interesting elements of devotional service that are depicted in these prayers by Maharani Kunti. But before Maharani Kunti offers prayers, so Parikshit Maharaj, who was in the womb of the mother of his mother, Uttara, was actually attacked by Ashwathama, and Krishna saves the son of Abhimanyu, that is Parikshit Maharaj. So Suta Goswami is going to narrate all that in this chapter. So here in the first shloka, it's a continuation from the previous chapter. In the previous chapter, finally, the conflict of Arjuna was resolved by the words spoken by Lord Krishna. So Arjuna, by taking off the money from the forehead of Ashwathama and also by cutting off the hair from his head, he resolved the conflict. He killed Ashwathama and also not killed him. This we have discussed yesterday. So, in this way, all the parties involved were pacified, they were satisfied that Ashwathama was given a proper punishment for his heinous act. So, after that, What happened? Suta Goswami is continuing his narration here. Atha te, atha means thus, te means all of them, the Pandavas. Samparetanam, Samparetanam means of the dead, all the dead sons. Swanam udakam ichhatam, Swanam of the relatives. Udakam means water. Ichhatam means willing to have. Actually, not only the sons of Pandavas, there were many other grades of relatives who had all passed away on the battle of Kurukshetra. So the Pandavas are now per- performing the final rites for all the relatives, both on the Pandava side and as on the Kaurava side, because no one else was remaining on the Kaurava side to perform the Shraddha ceremony for all the departed uh, relatives. Therefore, Pandavas themselves performed these final rites. Now, both in Mahabharata and Ramayana, this point is very nicely highlighted. Even when Ravana passed away, Lord Ramachandra asks Vibhishana, the brother of Ravana, to perform the final rites for Ravana and all his other relatives who had passed away. In fact, it is also said that Vibhishana was actually hesitant to perform the final rites for Ravana. So Vibhishana was thinking this Ravana is a sinful person. Why should we perform the final rites? And that time Ramachandra says, if you don't perform the final rites for Ravana, I will myself perform. That means the final rites are considered very important for for the departed soul to attain a proper destination. Now, actually, the Pitru Paksha is going on. Pitru Paksha, the 15 days before Mahalaya Amavasya, every year during this time, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. During this time of the year, the Pitru Puja is conducted by the ardent followers of Vedic culture. Pitrus means the ancestors. It is a opportunity for everyone in the family to remember all the departed ancestors and to do something which will enable the departed ancestors to attain a proper destination. According to our Vedic understanding, uh, it is very important for the soul to attain a proper destination after death. Suppose if one is a devotee of the Lord, there is no need to worry for such a person. If a person is engaged in devotional service, as Krishna promises in the Bhagavad Gita, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. There is no question of falling down for a devotee, either while he is living or after his death, because he is somehow or the other attached to Krishna, engaged in devotional service to Krishna. Even if the devotee does not attain perfection of devotional service in this lifetime and go back to Godhead immediately, still in the next life he will get an opportunity to take birth in a family which is suitable for cultivating spiritual life, and one's spiritual journey continues. But the majority of the population, they are not devotees. So for them, there is a very high chance that they might have committed so many sinful activities because of which they may not even get a suitable body in the next life after death. Now, by performing Shraddha and Pitru Tarpana and all these rituals during this Pitru Paksha, it is an opportunity uh, to offer Pindadana, which is Vishnu Prasadam, Krishna Prasadam, to the departed ancestors, so that in case if the departed ancestors, due to their sinful activities, have got stuck in ghostly body, or if they have failed to achieve a proper body, such departed ancestors will get benefited because of offering Krishna Prasadam to them. And also during this Pitru Paksha, not only the Shraddha is performed for the departed ancestors, but uh, the Brahmanas are fed in their name, in the name of the departed ancestors. The Brahmanas are fed. And when the Brahmanas they accept prasadam and they become satisfied, it will lead to uh, it will by their blessings the departed ancestors, if they are stuck in some ghostly body or some sinful uh, form of bodies, they will get relief and they will get a suitable body. It's not that they will get liberated at once, but they will get a suitable body. Now, it is also important to notice Shraddha. Shraddha means that which is done with Shraddha. That is called Shraddha. That has to be done with faith. Now, what is the faith? Two important things are required. Two important points. A person who is performing Shraddha must have faith. If he does not have faith in these 2 points, then his performance of Shraddha is of no use. It's useless. The first point is there is life after death. That means the body is not the real identity of a person. Even after the body is burned or buried, the soul continues to live. That means soul is eternal. That is the first point. The second point is it is Lord Vishnu or Krishna alone who can actually give liberation to the living entity. Only by coming in contact with Lord Vishnu, a person can actually become free from his sinful reactions and attain liberation. That is why the first class Shraddha means that which is performed by a Vaishnava son by feeding Vaishnava Brahmanas, by chanting the holy name of Lord Vishnu. That is first class Shraddha. And when such a Shraddha is performed and a Vaishnava son cooks prasadam, cooks bhoga, offers to Lord Vishnu, and then offers it to the departed ancestors and feeds Brahmanas with that prasadam, then 100% the departed ancestors will get liberation. This is what the Garuda Purana says. In case if the person who is performing Shraddha for his ancestors, if he has no faith in Lord Vishnu, then whatever he is doing, whatever Shraddha karma he is doing, it is actually not going to give any real benefit to the departed ancestors. So the point is, being devoted to Lord Vishnu is the main thing because unless one is a devotee of the Lord, whatever bhoga is going to cook and offer to the Lord will not accept. The Lord will accept only prasad, only when it is offered with devotion. As Krishna says, no, patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti upahritam ashnami prayatatmanah. Krishna says, ashnami, I will accept, I will eat the offerings made if it is offered with love and devotion. So, unless a devotee offers, Krishna will not accept. That means it won't become prasadam, Vishnu prasadam. And only when the departed ancestors are offered Vishnu prasadam, they will get liberated from their sinful situation. That means it is highly mandatory that the karta, the doer of the shraddha, must be a devotee of Lord Krishna. This is very, very important. This is actually the prerequisite for the shraddha to be successful. Okay. Now, all the Pandavas, they are performing Shraddha for all the departed ancestors. All various gradations of relatives, they took part in the battle of Kurukshetra, isn't it? If you read the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, you will get a list of all different kinds of relatives of Pandavas who participated on the in the battlefield, both from the Pandava side and from the Kaurava side. They participated. Now, with the exception of the Pandavas, everybody died on the battlefield. So, the Pandavas, being followers of Sanatana Dharma, they want to give the benefit of being their relatives by performing Shraddha for all the departed ancestors. They performed Shraddha ceremony not only for their supporters but also for their so called enemies, Duryodhana and others. For them also, Pandavas performed Shraddha ceremony. This is very important. So, uh, that means Duryodhana and party, they were all envious of the Pandavas as long as they were living. But the Pandavas did not continue any grudge against them after they died. This is a very important lesson the Pandavas are teaching us by their performance of Shraddha ceremony, even for their so called enemies. Actually, this friendship and enmity, it ends once a person gives up his body. Because that person was in that body and he had a kind of competitive spirit or envious attitude. So he was considering the Pandavas or anybody as their enemy. But once the person is dead, there is no use of maintaining enmity after death. This is very important. So, in the Vedic culture, this is very nicely highlighted. Even if somebody is one's enemy and that person has no male members in their family who can perform the Shraddha, then you should perform Shraddha for them. This is the verdict of the Vedic scriptures. That means enmity is gone with death. So Pitru Paksha is another opportunity for a person to remember all family members, all ancestors of their family, of their lineage, and to thank them and to offer Vishnu Prasadam to them so that in case if they are stuck in any sinful bodies or ghostly bodies, they gain relief from that. So a devotee actually is the one who gives, a devotee gives the biggest benefit for all family members of all his lineage. As Lord Narsimhadeva tells in connection with Prahlad Maharaj in the seventh canto of Bhagavatam, anybody who is connected with a devotee of the Lord, even remote relatives, far distant relatives, they also get benefited because a devotee has no enmity towards anybody. A devotee prays to the Lord for the relief of all sinful reactions of their family members and their ancestors. So, the best way how a devotee can observe Pitru Paksha, the best way is to feed Vaishnavas prasadam in the name of the departed ancestors, and also to do some charity. And one important thing is also there that one can chant the verses from the eighth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. By doing these things, one attracts the mercy of the Lord during this Pitru Paksha, and one also ensures that their ancestors get a suitable destination. So here the Pandavas, they performed the Shraddha ceremony, the final rites for their Swanam. Swanam means for all their relatives. And what happens here in this Shraddha ceremony is there is Udakam, Ichhatam. Udakam means water. So another important thing to note is during this Shraddha ceremony, certain items are used to perform Shraddha or to offer Tarpana. Tarpana means to offer water for the satisfaction of the ancestors. So, what are the things that are offered? Number one, Ganga Jala. Ganga Jala, it is very purifying because it is coming from the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Number two is Darbha grass is used. Darbha grass is coming from the hair of Lord Varahadeva, which is also very, very purifying. And then black sesame seeds are used. These black sesame seeds are drop shaped. If you have noticed, if you have seen the sesame seeds, they're all like water drop shaped. These sesame seeds have come from the sweat of Lord Varahadeva when he was fighting against Hiranyaksha and restoring Mother Earth back to its position from Garbhodaka ocean. So therefore, this black sesame seeds are also very auspicious because it is coming from the body of Lord Varahadeva. And then uh, it is also said that if one can actually perform such ceremonies at Gaya, Gaya is the place where there is Vishnu Pada, the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu is present. So, in the vicinity of the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, using the items which are connected with Lord Vishnu, which have come emanated from Lord Vishnu, Shraddha has to be performed. That is Darbha, sesame seeds, and Ganga water. And plus, fifth one is Tulasi leaves. So, Tulasi leaves are also very, very powerful because Tulasi Krishna Preyasi, very dear to Krishna, and Tulasi purifies. So, all these items purify if there are any sinful reactions connected with the ancestors. By the presence of these five items, the Lord, I mean, the departed ancestors get purified, they get spiritually benefited. And we also note how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit, he performed the Shraddha ceremony for his father at Gaya. That is where he met his spiritual master, Ishwara Puri, and received initiation of the Harinam from his spiritual master. So that means Vishnu Pada of at Gaya. If one is not able to go to Vishnu Pada and to Gaya and perform the Shraddha or offer Tarpana, at least one should remember the Vishnu Pada, the Lord's lotus feet at Gaya. One should remember, and then one should perform the Shraddha or the Tarpana or whatever is performed in the name of the ancestors during this Pitrupaksha time. So, during the Shraddha ceremony also, there are several mantras which are chanted uh, to remember the Lord, to remember Lord Vishnu. And the mantras also mean that without the blessings of Lord Vishnu, it is not possible for anybody to get liberation. That means the whole process is about requesting Lord Vishnu to show his mercy upon the departed ancestors so that they can get a suitable, better destination. That is the whole process. Therefore, only a Vaishnava who has firm faith in Lord Vishnu can perform Shraddha and give the real benefit to his departed ancestors. So, all the Pandavas were definitely Vaishnavas, they're pure devotees of the Lord. So, they are performing the Shraddha ceremony for all the departed ancestors. So, uh, definitely they will all be benefited, and they are performing this in the presence of Krishna. As this verse is telling, Krishna also joined them. This is also very interesting. So Krishna joined Yudhishthir Maharaj and all the Pandava brothers when they were performing this Shraddha ceremony. Datum sa Krishna Gangayam. And where did they do? Ganga. On the banks of river Ganga they did it. Not any other place because Ganga Devi, Ganga river water emanates directly from the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So it is very purifying. So there they performed the final rites, the Shraddha ceremony. So Prabhupada says even today in the Hindu society, people go to Ganga river or any holy river, take a bath there, and they perform the Shraddha ceremony for the departed ancestors. Okay, let's continue. Text 2. ते निनीयोदकं सर्वे विलप्य च भृशं पुनः आप्लुता हरिपादाब्ज रजः पूत सरिज्जले. Translation by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Sutta Goswami continued, having lamented over them and sufficiently offered Ganges water, They bathed in the Ganges, whose water is sanctified due to being mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. Te Niniya means they offered. Udakam means water. So they offered during the Shraddha ceremony or the final rites. Two things are offered: rice balls, that is called pinda, plus udakam. Udakam means water. Both are offered along with Ganga water and sesame seeds, right? So that is what is done. So they offered it to the departed ancestors, and while they were doing it, Vilapya, they were actually lamenting, and Brusham Punaha, they they actually sufficiently offered Ganga water to the departed ancestors. Apluta Haripadabja. Apluta means they took bath. Where did they take bath? Haripadabja. Ja means to take birth. Padabja, that which is taking birth from the Haripada, the lotus feet of Lord Hari. That is nothing but Ganga river. If you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita in Mahaprabhu's Pauganda Leela, in his early pastimes, we see his debate with Keshav Kashmiri, a great scholar from Kashmir, on the banks of river Ganga. So there, Keshav Kashmiri was asked by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to compose verses glorifying Ganga Devi. And instantaneously, that great poet was able to wonderfully glorify Ganga Devi uh, with prayers, with glorification of Sanskrit verses. And in one of the verses, he glorifies Ganga as the emanation from the lotus feet, the emanation from the lotus. Hmm? He says, because the lotus feet of the Lord are compared to the lotus. So he says, it is that water which has come from a lotus, right? Generally, lotus grows on water, but here, water is coming from the lotus. Now, that is the chamatkara. That is the speciality of his composition. It creates a kind of, uh, when a person hears this, who has proper Sanskrit knowledge, when he hears, he becomes astonished. Oh, what is this? Generally, lotus comes from water, but here this poet is saying water is coming from lotus. So this is a kind of decoration of his poetry. That's called alankara, technically in Sanskrit grammar. So the Ganga water is coming from the lotus known as the lotus feet of the Lord. That is the understanding. So here also, Ganga Devi is referred to as Haripadabja. Haripadabja Rajaha. Rajaha means the dust. Puta means purified. That water which is purified by the dust coming from the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. That is Ganga. And Sarit Jale. Sarit means Ganga river, the river, Jale in the water. So the Pandavas lamented over the departed relatives, and they sufficiently offered Ganga water to them, performed Shraddha ceremony, and then they finally bathed in the Ganga river, whose water is sanctified because of being mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. Later on in the same first canto of Bhagavatam, we see in one of the chapters when Parikshit Maharaj retired to the banks of river Ganga after understanding that he is going to die in 7 days. There also this description comes that he came to that river whose waters are always sanctified because they are mixed with the tulasi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord. So Ganga river is very, very special because it is directly emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord. That means it has connection with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord, with the tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord. Therefore, it has this purifying potency. Any object in this material world acquires the potency to purify only when it is connected with the Supreme Lord. Huh? As I told, the examples of darbha grass, the sesame seeds, and the Ganga water, and tulsi, all of these are connected with Krishna. That is why they are very, very sanctifying. Hmm? In the same way, a pure devotee of the Lord also, because he is always connected with the Lord in devotional service, he is constantly thinking about the Lord. Therefore, wherever he goes, he can turn that place into a place of pilgrimage. Tirthi kurvanti tirthani. In the third canto of Bhagavatam, it is described. Even in the Narada Bhakti Sutras, it is described that a pure devotee of the Lord, wherever he goes, because he is carrying Krishna within his heart, wherever he goes, he can transform that place into a holy place of pilgrimage. So, purification means connection with Krishna. That is called purification. Hmm? Real purification is connection with Krishna. If purification is not simply ritual or doing some, taking some bath or taking some nothing, that is not purification. Connecting ourselves with those objects and those personalities who are intimately connected with Krishna, that results in purification. That is called purification. In the Garuda Purana, there is a very famous verse. Apavitra pavitro va sarvavastha gatopi va yasmaret pundari kaksham sabahya abhyantara shuchihi. The meaning of this verse is whether one is in a pure state externally or impure state, having gone through all kinds of phases in one's life, if somehow or the other one remembers the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is glorified as Pundarikaksha, one who has lotus eyes, he's called Pundarikaksha. Pundarika means lotus, Aksha means eyes. The lotus eyed Lord Krishna, if one remembers, immediately such a person will become Sabahya Abhyantara Shuchihi. He becomes purified both internally and externally. That means simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna, one can instantly become purified. Because the holy name of Krishna is not different from Krishna. By chanting, a devotee is directly connecting with Krishna, and that results in purification. So, if we want to maintain a pure state of mind, it is very, very important to somehow or the other always stay connected with Krishna, either by hearing Bhagavatam, or by chanting the holy names of the Lord, or by rendering service to the Lord in the association of devotees, or by serving the deity of the Lord in one or the other way. If we are connected with the Lord constantly, that results in purification, pure state of mind, and pure intelligence. Let's go to the third shloka. तत्रासीनं कुरुपतिं धृतराष्ट्रं सहानुजं गान्धारीं पुत्रशोकार्तां पृथां कृष्णां च माधवः. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Suta Goswami continued, there sat the king of the Kurus, Maharaj Yudhishthira, along with his younger brothers, and Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, Kunti, and Draupadi, all overwhelmed with grief. Lord Krishna was also there. Purport. The battle of Kurukshetra was fought between family members, and thus all affected persons were also family members, like Maharaj Yudhishthira and brothers Kunti, Draupadi, Subhadra, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, and her daughters in law, etc. All the principal dead bodies were in some way or other related with each other, and therefore the family grief was combined. Lord Krishna was also one of them, as a cousin of the Pandavas and nephew of Kunti, as well as brother of Subhadra, etc. The Lord therefore was equally sympathetic toward all of them, and therefore he began to pacify them befittingly. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Tatra asinam, tatra, there, where on the banks of river Ganga, tatra asinam, they all sat down. Kurupatim, Kurupatim means the king of the Kuru dynasty. Now, who is the king of the Kuru dynasty? So far, it was Dhritarashtra who was described as Kurupati because he happened to be the king of Hastinapura. But now, after the fall of the Kauravas, Dhritarashtra is no more Kurupati. It is Yudhishthir Maharaj who is Kurupati. He is the winner. He has won the war. Therefore, he is addressed as Kurupatim here, the king of the Kurus, Maharaj Yudhishthira. And then Dhritarashtram Saha Anujam. Dhritarashtram, that is Maharaj Dhritarashtra, Saha Anujam, with his younger brothers. So here, younger brothers, whose younger brothers? Yudhishthir Maharaja's younger brothers. Kurupati's younger brothers. Saha Anujam should be applied for Kurupatim, not to Dhritarashtra, because all Dhritarashtra's, uh, his brothers and cousins all have died on the battlefield. In fact, Dhritarashtra's cousins were also there. They also participated in the war from the Kaurava side. They all died actually. So there's no question of Dhritarashtra's Anuja. Dhritarashtra's only Anuja was Vidura. Now, Vidura did not participate in the war itself. We will talk about Vidura in one of the chapters in the first canto. It comes. Uh, so now it is Saha Anujam refers to Kurupatim, the brothers of Yudhishthir Maharaj, the king of the Kurus. Gandharim Putra Shokartam. Gandhari, the mother of the Kauravas, she was there. And then Putra Shoka Artam. Arta means to be bereaved. So all of them were overtaken by bereavement. They were all lamenting because so many people have been killed on the battlefield. They're, so they were all crying for the death of their near and dear ones. And then Prutham. Prutham was also there. Prutha means Kunti Devi, the mother of the Pandavas. She was there. And then Krishnam. Here Krishnam is a feminine gender. It refers to Draupadi Maharani. She was there. Cha Madhavaha. Also Madhava was there. Lord Krishna was there. Uh, all of them were overwhelmed with grief because of the loss of their family members. And Prabhupada writes in the purport that all the principal dead bodies were in some way or the other related with each other. So, when such a war happens, when all the family members take part and they die, everybody is related to one another. The persons who have died are also related to the ones who are living and lamenting. And the persons who have died are related to each other also. That means you can just imagine the amount of grief that would have overtaken the entire family. Even if one relative passes away, you know, we lament. If somebody near and dear one passes away, we feel for him or her. Now imagine so many people of all different gradations of relatives, they all passed away at once. Now imagine the amount of grief, the amount of lamentation that all these members of the family members uh, who are all there on the lamenting, how much they would have actually experienced the misery. It cannot be understood. It cannot be described simply by words. So, and Lord Krishna was there. Lord Krishna was also related to everybody. He was the cousin of the Pandavas. He was the nephew to Maharani Kunti. In that way, he was nephew to Dhritarashtra and Gandhari also. And he was a brother of Subhadra. Subhadra also has lost her son, Abhimanyu. Draupadi has lost all her sons. He was in that way brother of Draupadi also. So Lord Krishna is related to everybody, of course, contextually here, but in reality also Lord Krishna is related to everybody, isn't it? All living entities are his parts and parcels. So here, the Lord therefore was equally sympathetic towards all of them. The Lord is also feeling sympathy for everybody. Therefore, he began to pacify them befittingly. Now, this is very important. Santwana, this word Santwana comes in many places in the Bhagavatam. Santwana means words of pacification. Uh, Here, Lord Krishna did not start uh, cursing Dhritarashtra. He did not say, see, that day I came as a peace messenger. If you had accepted my proposal and given 5 villages to the Pandavas, you need not have to see all this death of all these relatives. Your sons would have been alive today. He did not speak like that. This is very important. When you're trying to pacify a person who is uh, already in lamentation, you should not speak such that your words pierce that person. That is not the time. That is not the time. At that time, you need to speak in a way to pacify that person and help that person to overcome that situation, that lamentation. That is very important. Uh, Otherwise, it's that, oh, see, Krishna doesn't say, see, that day I told you should have done what I said. No, then Dhritarashtra's and others' grief would have increased. So this is called being sensitive. Very important. When to speak what? Krishna himself is teaching us in the Bhagavatam if you carefully study. Uh, So that time when Krishna came as a peace messenger, he spoke very sharply. He did not compromise there. He said that time Krishna said, if you read the Mahabharata, you'll see this in the Sri Krishna Sandhana episode. Krishna says, oh King Dhritarashtra, if you don't listen to me, and if you simply get carried away by the words of your wicked son Duryodhana, then get ready to cry for all your sons and all your relatives. Krishna had told this. Be ready to cry. Be ready to shed tears for all your sons. Krishna had told this. Now, Krishna will not say like that here. Because in that situation, whatever was required to, to wake up, to awaken Dhritarashtra from his deep slumber caused by the affection towards his son, Krishna told that. But now, Dhritarashtra is himself lamenting. So now Krishna says in a different way. So let's see what Krishna says. Before that, let's see what Krishna says in the shloka. Actually, Krishna's words are not mentioned in the shloka, but Suta Goswami is narrating the essence of what Krishna says to Dhritarashtra and all the other lamenting family members. Very interesting. Text 4. सान्त्वयामास मुनिभिर्हतबन्धून् शुचार्पितान् भूतेषु कालस्य गतिं दर्शयन्न प्रतिक्रियाम्. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Citing the stringent laws of the Almighty and their reactions upon living beings, Lord Sri Krishna and the Munis began to pacify those who were shocked and affected. Purport. The stringent laws of nature under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be altered by any living entity. The living entities are eternally under the subjugation of the Almighty Lord. The Lord makes all the laws and orders, and these laws and orders are generally called dharma or religion. No one can create any religious formula. Bona fide religion is to abide by the orders of the Lord. The Lord's orders are clearly declared in the Bhagavad Gita. Everyone should follow him only or his orders, and that will make all happy, both materially and spiritually. As long as we are in the material world, our duty is to follow the orders of the Lord. And if by the grace of the Lord we are liberated from the clutches of the material world, then in our liberated stage also we can render transcendental loving service unto the Lord. In our material stage, we can see neither ourselves nor the Lord for want of spiritual vision. But when we are liberated from material affection and are situated in our original spiritual form, we can see both ourselves and the Lord face to face. Mukti means to be reinstated in one's original spiritual status after giving up the material conception of life. Therefore, human life is specifically meant for qualifying ourselves for this spiritual liberty. Unfortunately, under the influence of illusory material energy, we accept this spot life of only a few years as our permanent existence and thus become illusioned by possessing so called country, home, land, children, wife, community, wealth, etc., which are false representations created by Maya, illusion. And under the dictation of Maya, we fight one with one another to protect these false possessions. By cultivating spiritual knowledge, we can realize that we have nothing to do with all this material paraphernalia. Then, at once, we become free from material attachment. The clearance of the misgivings of material existence at once takes place by association with the Lord's devotees, who are able to inject the transcendental sound into the depths of the bewildered heart and thus make one practically liberated from all lamentation and illusion. That is a summary of the pacifying measures for those affected by the reaction of stringent material laws exhibited in the forms of birth, death, old age, and disease, which are insoluble factors of material existence. The victims of war, namely the family members of the Kurus, were lamenting the problems of death, and the Lord pacified them on the basis of knowledge. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So even today, when uh, Shraddha ceremonies are performed, of course, if it is performed in accordance with the proper scriptural regulations and by bona fide Brahmanas and devotees, then a part of the Shraddha ceremony is after all the uh, procedures are executed and after all the Brahmanas are fed, then there is a satsang. The learned Brahmanas, they speak a few words to the members of the departed relative, because they will all be in a material uh, illusion, they will be in lamentation. So, to pacify them based on the scriptural instructions, they will be told about spiritual knowledge, especially from the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita about the existence of the soul being eternal and the body being temporary. All this knowledge will be spoken. Of course, nowadays the Shraddha ceremonies, they all have become a profession. I don't think nowadays anybody follows these things. But originally, when the Shraddha was performed, as a part of all the, at the end of all the ceremonies, spiritual knowledge was also imparted to the family members so that they can start seeing the reality of the soul's existence and appreciate how material body and material things are all temporary so that they can come out of their lamentation. That is the purpose. So actually originally Krishna has done this for all the Pandavas, including he also spoke to Dhritarashtra, Gandhari and all of them. What did he speak? Santvayam asa. Santvayam means pacified them. Muni bihi, along with the munis. The Munis, the great sages, who are emblems of transcendental knowledge, who are expert in Vedic conclusions, they were also accompanied. They were also accompanying Lord Krishna. So they also spoke words of wisdom. Hata bandhun suchar pitan. Hata bandhun means those who have lost their friends and relatives. Shuchar pitan means those who are all shocked and those who are all affected. Emotionally, they're all affected because of the death of their relatives. They're all called Shuchar pitan. Bhuteshu, unto the living beings. Kalasya gatim. Kalasya means the of the supreme law of the Almighty. The influence of Kala, influence of time, which is nothing but a representation of the Supreme Lord. Gatim means the reactions. Darshayan, Darshayan demonstrated. Na pratikriyam. Pratikriya means remedial measures. So, the summary of what Lord Krishna and the great sages spoke to all the relatives, the Pandavas and the relatives, was they spoke words of wisdom, citing the stringent laws of the Almighty, uh, Kala's action, and their reactions upon living beings. So, the sum and substance is Bhagavad Gita, especially second chapter, where Krishna tells that we are not the body, we are soul, and the body is anyway going to die one day. It is not permanent, whereas the soul remains, the soul is eternal. This is the spiritual wisdom. Actually, this knowledge especially can be appreciated at the time of death of one's relatives because the relatives will be um, in a state of shock, in a state of utter grief and sorrow. They are not able to digest the fact that yesterday this person was there with me. I was speaking to him. Yesterday he was there. Yesterday we went to such and such place. Yesterday I came and I spoke to him. I fed him some food or some milk or whatever. Like this, people keep saying, no, yesterday he was there. I spoke to him. Today he's not there. So it's like a shock. Oh, he's not there. So this being not there, yesterday he was there, now he is not there. That is creating a kind of shock. And it's not easy to come out of that shock, especially if the person is very attached to the departed relative. To what degree one becomes attached to each other, to that degree one will remain in a state of shock and misery upon the death of that relative. That is why it is important that we should not develop undue attachment to anybody in this world. Hmm? Understanding that all these relationships are temporary. Our attachment should be towards the Lord and towards the pure devotees of the Lord. Because this kind of an association with the Lord and his pure devotees enlightens us. It brings us out of the bodily conception of life. It gives us freedom from all kinds of miseries. Whereas attachment to ordinary conditioned souls of this world will only increase our miseries when we miss them, when we after their death we become very much affected and we our miseries become doubled. Therefore, attachment towards anybody in this world should be through Krishna. Suppose there is a devotee relative. Oh, this devotee relative was so nice. He's such a nice devotee he was, and he was nicely serving Krishna. So we remember him. By remembering a devotee, we also remember Krishna by default. Therefore, it is beneficial for us also because we are somehow remembering Krishna. It is beneficial for the departed person also because we are remembering him through Krishna. We are remembering Krishna through him. We are remembering Krishna. We are remembering him through Krishna. So in both the cases, both the parties are getting benefited. Ena kena prakarena mana Krishne niveshaye. Rupa Goswami says, somehow or the other, fix your mind on Krishna. That is the best way. So why do we celebrate the disappearance day of great acharyas, pure devotees? Because invariably, when we talk about the life of such great acharyas, we also remember Krishna and their devotional service to Krishna, which actually purifies us. So, therefore, Krishna is, along with all the learned sages, he tried to pacify Yudhishthir Maharaj, Dhritarashtra, and all other relatives by telling that how no one can counter the effects of Kala. No one can counter. Who can stop? Another verse from the second chapter where Krishna says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad apariharyerthe natvam shochitum arhasi. So Krishna says, for a person who has taken birth, death is certain. And for a person who has died, again taking birth is certain. So therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duties, you should not lament for anybody. Na shochasi, na shochitum arhasi. In the second chapter, you will find many shlokas which are ending with this. Na shochitum arhasi. Don't lament, don't lament. Because Arjuna was lamenting in the first chapter. So Krishna is saying, do not lament. And the final instruction of Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna is saying, do not lament. Ma shuchaha, sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. In that also the last word is ma shuchaha. Do not lament, do not worry, do not fear. So the whole Bhagavad Gita knowledge is meant to bring us out of miseries caused because of bodily conception of life. We are all lamenting because of bodily conception of life, because we think we and our relatives are all their bodies, our bodies. And once the body is gone, everything is gone. We think like that, but this is ignorance. So therefore, one must have this transcendental knowledge. We are not the bodies, we are spirit souls. We are eternally related with Krishna. That is our actual identity. We continue to exist even beyond the body. So, with this transcendental knowledge, the Lord Krishna and the Munis began to pacify all the relatives who were shocked and affected. In the purport, Prabhupada explains Dharma means to abide by the orders of the Lord. No one can manufacture Dharma. Dharma can only be given by the Supreme Lord. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. This is the definition of Dharma given by Yamaraja himself in the sixth canto of Bhagavatam, while he explains about Ajamila's incident to the Yamadutas. He tells this definition Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Dharma means to abide by the orders of the Supreme Lord. The word spoken by Krishna is called Dharma. So, the highest Dharma is to abide by the orders of Krishna. So, Prabhupada says, both in our conditioned stage of existence and in the liberated stage of existence, we always have to follow the orders of Krishna. That is the position of the soul, right? But when we forget that, we think that I can enjoy independently, then we actually prepare ourselves for a miserable life in this material existence. So, if one understands this, let me surrender to Krishna. Let me follow what Krishna is saying. Then he becomes a Mukta Purusha. He becomes a liberated person. So Prabhupada also writes here Mukti means to be reinstated in one's original spiritual status and giving up the material conception of life. Mukti, Mukti means what? To give up our material conception. Mukti swarupena vyavastitihi. Hitvanyata rupam swarupena vyavastitihi. This is the definition of mukti given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hitva anyatha rupam, giving up all material conceptions, and swarupena vyavasthitihi, to be situated in our swarupa, in our original constitutional position. That is called mukti. So, human life is specifically meant for qualifying ourselves for this spiritual liberty. Right now, we are not having liberty. We are under the clutches of Maya. We are being dictated by the three modes of material nature, under whose influence we perform certain actions and we suffer the reactions of those activities. So right now we have no freedom. The soul has lost its freedom. But if one voluntarily agrees to follow the instructions of Krishna, follow the dharma, then one becomes mukta, one becomes free from all this uh, clutches of Maya. So, but under the influence of Maya, unfortunately, we think that our few years of this life is the all in all. We think it is permanent existence. We are just living for few years. Few years means okay, 70, 80, 100 years. Even if one lives for 100 years, it's not permanent, it's temporary. So, human life is a wonderful opportunity to get out of this this bondage. And Bhagavatam very nicely explains in the fifth canto, Rishabdeva says, Atha griha kshetra sutapta vittaihi janasya mohoyam aham mameti. So, under the influence of Maya, uh, Atha griha sutapta vrittaihi. Suta means one's children, apta means one's relatives, and then um, apatya means one's wife or one's spouse. Then Gruha means one's house, Kshetra means one's property, Vitta means money. So people think these are all mine. This is mine. It belongs to me. And this is called moha, illusion. Before we existed, before we took birth, this property was there, wealth was there, all this was there. And after we die also, somebody else will enjoy this property and wealth. Then how can I say it is mine? It is actually the property of the Lord. That is real knowledge. So, but under Maya, we think it is all ours. Hmm? So, therefore, if we want to become free from this wrong conception, false conception, Prabhupada is writing here, the clearance of the misgivings of material existence are uh, at once takes place by association with the Lord's devotees who are able to inject the transcendental sound into the depths of the bewildered heart and thus make one practically liberated from lamentation and illusion. So, when we are in the association of devotees, we get to hear the spiritual reality, the reality that Krishna spoke to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, because of which Arjuna's illusion and lamentation were driven away. That same knowledge we get to hear in the association of devotees. And by properly hearing this spiritual knowledge, we also become free from lamentation and illusion. Therefore, and during such occasions, uh, during the Shraddha ceremony or the death of one's near and dear ones in the Vedic culture, such transcendental knowledge was always spoken by the sages so that the family members stop their lamentation and they progress towards the ultimate goal of life. And here, the Pandavas are exceptionally fortunate because not simply sages, not only ordinary sages are speaking all this transcendental knowledge to them, Krishna himself is speaking. So you can just see Krishna is so attached and affectionate towards the Pandavas. If really Krishna's only mission was to make sure that the Kauravas are killed, at the end of Duryodhana's death, only Krishna should have gone back to Dwaraka. But actually, Krishna is attached to the Pandavas because they are his pure devotees. They are dependent on him completely. So, in all circumstances, the Pandavas cannot forget Krishna. Therefore, Krishna also does not forget the Pandavas in all their circumstances. Whether there is a marriage in Pandava's house or whether there is a death in their family, Krishna is always present there. Uh, that means if we become exclusively dedicated to Krishna's service, like the Pandavas, every moment Krishna will think about us. The greatness of Pandavas lies not in the fact that the Pandavas were always thinking about Krishna, but their greatness lies in the fact that Krishna was always thinking about them. That was the status of Pandavas' unalloyed devotional service towards Krishna. Krishna could not leave them and go. In fact, it is described in the Bhagavatam. The citizens of Dwaraka were thinking that the Pandavas are more fortunate than us. Because every now and then Krishna leaves Dwaraka and goes to Hastinapura, goes to Indraprastha. So much. What is that? Yudhishthir Maharaj, some Yudhishthir Maharaj has done some Jadu Tona on Krishna. That every now and then he's not at all staying here in Dwaraka. He's going away every now and then to meet Yudhishthir Maharaj and all the Pandavas. That is the kind of loving affection that Krishna had for the Pandavas. Like Srila Prabhupada quotes Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, where he says, don't be so much worried about seeing Krishna. You do something which will make Krishna come and see you. That practically the Pandavas had done that. Practically. For Pandavas, there was no life without Krishna. And equally for Krishna, for him, there is no solace without the association of his dearmost devotees, Pandavas. That was the kind of reciprocal loving relationship between Krishna and Pandavas. So, in this, Krishna was not only there for Arjuna on the battlefield to guide him, to fight him, to make him fight against the Kauravas. He was also there when they were lamenting for their departed ancestors, departed relatives. That shows how intimately Krishna was connected with the Pandava family. So, we will discuss more in the coming sessions because this is a very special chapter. Many interesting things we get to hear in this chapter, especially through the prayers of Kunti Maharani, which all of us should definitely learn those prayers. They're very wonderful prayers. We will discuss in the coming sessions. Thank you very much for your valuable time. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Vishwa Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.